Okay, I'm just going to give it a quick minute to pop up on my screen, just so I know I'm definitely live. I always start these things a bit too early sometimes. So yeah, we're just going to do that. We are doing something. There's an advert for some reason. Go away. There we go. So my name's Rob. Hello. My name's Rob. This is Cat Rabbit Scale Model Studios. And I thought it would be a good idea for me to film what I'm doing, just because it might help someone out. And I've always taken the kind of thing that if it can help someone, brilliant, let's do it. I've got an hour to spare. I'm struggling for time this week to kind of put together a video. So I thought if I can pepper it with some Dark Angels lives and things like that, fantastic. So we are going to be taking a look at Belial today. Obviously, if you haven't seen the unboxing video, please do. It helps me out immensely. If you like my stuff, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. It really, really does mean a lot. A few things just before we get started. You'll see here, I've got a fantastic cup of tea. Oh, the colour of He-Man, absolutely perfect. However, oh God, the experience could be enhanced tenfold if only I had a placemat. Well, ha 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 ha, here you ask. So I bought this the other day. For those of you who don't know Joe from Encounter Train, he's a lovely guy. Bit of a liar. It says 3D Joe. It says Bethnal Green based, but he's Australian. So clearly he lives in Australia. So big fat whopper from that end. But he's just got a very cool laser printer. He's a carpenter by trade. He made me this super snazzy little box. But if we just pop this open. Oh, look at this. Very legit. You get like a little Encounter Train. He does loads of D&D stuff, loads of tutorials. He's a really, really lovely guy. I've known him for a while. We've shared a few beers together. He's a great guy. Encounter Train. But he made me this awesome... I say made me. I paid for it. You wait till I see him. Hopefully I'll be at Salou or Selwig. I can't remember which one's first. I think it's April the 12th. I'll be there. I have told him that I'm going to come up to his stand, touch all his stuff and not buying anything. But there we go. I've got this cool little cattle rabbit, a little placemat. So there we go. Cheers, Joe. Absolutely fantastic. Look at that. Wow. Can you believe it? Be careful with that mugger. It's a full one. It's a hot one. You know, here we go. But there we go. So I thought I would show that off just before we get started. I like doing the lives because I can talk about other stuff. I can ramble when I do, you know, videos. I try and be quite direct to the point and stuff like that. So there's that. Something else that was quite cool, which I probably should capture on camera. Ta-da! It's White Dwarf. I never buy White Dwarf. I was actually out on Saturday night with my pals having a beer, and my buddy messaged me. And I kind of looked at it after about, you know, 5 or 6 beers deep, and I'm thinking, why is he showing me a picture of that? Well, if we just flick here to the thing. Hey! Who painted that? Yeah, it was me. So, little hobby goal achieved. It's really weird. Like stuff like this. I know people sometimes get the wrong. Maybe it's just assume that because I do YouTube and stuff like that, that, you know, I'm not a hobbyist that gets excited about stuff like this. So look, I'm in White Dwarf, which is absolutely amazing. You know, I've always said I'm a hobbyist before I'm absolutely anything else. And seeing my little guy there, I actually submitted the pictures for this about 2 years ago. I don't even have this model anymore. I actually, obviously being, you know, I try and kind of monetize what I do, but I do constantly turn over what I paint. I paint up little forces, little factions, and off they go. And I actually sent this out to my good friend Gabe, Fenris Workshop out in Canada, and he obviously resells them and stuff like that. It's always a fair price. He's a lovely guy to work with, and they're a great team down there. But the shipment actually never made it, and they were lost. All of them. I painted some Basiladons, I painted Starblood Stalkers, some Skinks. I love doing them. I wanted to do like a little Skink force, sold them, and yeah, they never made it there. Absolutely gutting. So I don't know who's got this now. If you've got it, hey, I painted that, so good on you. But hey, yeah, so White Dwarf. I want to talk about White Dwarf a little bit while I'm doing stuff, because I haven't, I mean, I think I bought a couple of White Dwarfs when I started the hobby like 6 years ago, and I haven't bought one of these in ages. And well, you know, maybe we'll save this for a video, but I think there's a lot to unpack there with White Dwarf. But that's not why we're here. We're here for Belial. He's only been on for 5 minutes and we're finally getting there. So there we go. Belial, he's a really, really cool miniature. But I am going to show you how to magnetize him. It's really, really easy. I did a very similar method to my the Lion which obviously a few years ago now, last year, wow. I think it was like April or May last year, the Lion. It's really, really easy to do. You don't need much to do it. You will need a pin drill, a magnet, obviously. You'll need a paper clip, some blue tack, and some super glue. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. I'm just gonna try and sort my cable out as it's kind of hanging down, and I know what I'm like. So there we go. So first thing we're gonna do, we're just gonna unclip them and start cleaning them up and stuff like that. And we can ramble a little bit together. Just quickly before I do get started, what's everyone working on? Obviously, I'm finding it quite difficult for time at the moment. My daughters have been in a dance performance. The first one, we do a big one every 2 years, and this is the kind of one that they did this year. They were both in it, and they were absolutely amazing. So I've kind of been dealing with that at the moment, and so I don't feel like, I feel like I'm catching up with myself on a lot of stuff, and maybe I haven't been as present as what I usually am. However, it's quite nice. Obviously, I'm not a massive channel. People don't always rely on me for the videos and stuff like that. So it's quite nice because I'm small enough to kind of do what I want, which is quite good. Can we all see those instructions just there? Let me move that fancy box. So as you can see, A1 and A3 just go together. It's a leg. I don't foresee there being a problem, you know, with this. You can kind of work your way around it, so I wouldn't worry too much about sub-assemblies or anything like that. One thing that I will say about Belial, after really looking at the sprues, and one that I kind of felt that was really achievable to get like a good effect quickly, is his seam lines are very cleverly disguised. So you can see that it runs up the back just here, but it's not going to matter at the front because the actual armor plate for the leg covers it up. So there's actually some really cool design choices on him. I know some people weren't a big fan of the redesigned Belial. Personally, I think anything that's a bit more bigger and bulkier in Terminator armor is definitely better, in my opinion. Bringing them up for scale, and you know, like I showed you with my my Company Heroes kit bash, you can always take some of the older bits and, you know, put them on the new one. I only think he's missing his little plaque thing that goes on the back. I don't know what it's called. He's got like a bit of heraldry and stuff like that, but other than that, he's kind of like spot on for you know, I think a good reimagining. So stick pieces that I am going to be sticking together is going to be extra thin cement. This is great because it melts the plastic just between each bits. I am just going to say stuff like this for people that maybe are new here, new hobbyists, why I'm doing things. I never really like to give the illusion of knowledge, and I like to be, you know, quite clear. If you've got any questions, don't be afraid to ask. If you are watching from the future, first off, hello, what's it like? Wow. And secondly, yeah, if you've got any questions, don't be afraid to ask. I've always considered myself a very beginner-friendly kind of the way I do things. So, you know, we all got to start somewhere. So, you know, don't worry too much. Ask away. So I will clean the bits up as I go. Now, I've kind of looked at this quite extensively, and the way he goes together seems pretty easy, if I'm completely honest. Like the two legs kind of go together. The next one's this one, and it's got a bit of his cape on and some of the scenery that he's standing on. Obviously, tactical rocks. Maybe we should do like we should definitely do a video one day where we rate all the tactical rocks that the Space Marines have, because you know what, they've got some blinders, haven't they? Wow, there's some great tactical rocks out there. So I think that a tactical rock night is definitely on the cards. I think it'd be quite a long video as well, but yeah, so we're just going to clean him up as we go along. He's kind of got this odd bit here, which I'm assuming is his side, so do just be careful when unclipping this. It's a really thin bit of plastic, if you can see that there, so just take your time with it. And this section kind of just glues on just like here. You can actually see that the cape cutout sits quite nicely there. Now, if you have missed any sprue points, this is where I kind of foresee a problem, So if you've got any contact point just here left over, then what I would advise you to do is just scrape away a bit more than what you think. You can always fill this at the end. So if we now pop this just on here, what we should be able to do is just tuck this together. In actual fact, I'm going to pop some on here as well, because you can see where the parts of the leg scaffolding kind of wrap round. At least I think that's what it is. So there we go, that's nice and snug. And another good trick to do, just to make sure that he is level, is literally just standing on and make sure that leg's flat. It's a bit of a, I wouldn't say suspect contact point, but it's certainly a bit ropey. So do just be a bit careful with that. I think that's it there. Again, you're not really going to see too much because he's got that very impressive cloak. But let's just play it by ear. Now, he's got his front section that goes on here. And this is where I'm going to start really dry fitting stuff, because I want to see if I can actually paint around the side of the legs with the like tabard bit on. Now, if I can't, then I probably would advise you to leave it off, because it is literally just a bit of cloth and one of the armor pieces, which is nice. There's no like half panels of anything, so we might be able to get away with that. So if we just take this off, and there's a little point just up here on his leg. Once again, his leg's kind of up on this rock with his skeleton lantern thing. If we just clean that up, if we pop this here, so that becomes part of the leg, because it actually doesn't have a sculpted top bit, so that sits in there like that. Now, I think what we're probably going to need to do is put this knee pad on, and you know what, I think because that's all cloth, I mean, there'll be a tiny little seam line. I don't know how well you can all see that, and it is literally just there. It's a tiny little gap. We could probably fill that with a little bit of excess super glue. However, I think what we can do is we can pop his two leg sections on, his greaves, I would say. Obviously one of these, as you can see, has got some of it missing because the actual cape will rest against it. So I am going to actually attach these now. I think that's quite a smart thing to do. We're just going to unclip. I got to admit, I was really, this is a miniature I've been really, it's actually going to jump the queue. I've still got some company heroes to paint up. I've still got two infiltrators. I've got some heavy intercessors in my seconded Angels of Vengeance unit. I'm actually tempted to do the whole unit different successors, just as a good excuse to paint some different colours. And I think it would fit in almost like a little, imagine like a Death Watch of different successors being brought together by, you know, their parent chapter. I think would be, is quite cool. Is that a thing in 40k? Like, I feel it should be or could be, but I'd like to see some, you know, different successors working together. I think that would be quite cool. Obviously they're quite you know, hint hint wink wink, yeah sure, yeah no, we don't have that many successors, you know, they're a bit sneaky, the old Dark Angels boys. That's why I kind of like them. You can make stuff up and you don't know whether it's true or not because you don't know anything about them. So I think they're, from a lore standpoint, if you like that kind of stuff, they're a really, really good chapter to get into, because you can kind of just do what you want with them and just be like, yeah, secret of the rock, innit? And, you know, no one can really say anything because no one knows if it's true or not, because no one knows. And I got to admit, I do really like that about them. So that's our first one on. And then we'll just pop the second one on. Again, really, really easy to do. We're just going to put that one there. And all it's going to do is just pop into that little bit there. Now, this is a bit funny because that feels like it. Oh no, it isn't. It's against the bits. Okay, so this bit's a little bit funny, this greave. It feels like it's still sitting further away from the like the knee pad. It's not. because you can tell because the pieces of, once again, scaffolding just here have made a contact point. Whereas you've got kind of like this, it's almost weird gap here where it feels like it's falling away. It's not, it's dead against. So that's something to just be, you know, a little bit aware of. And then obviously we can pop this on and it shouldn't, because it just goes around like this. Bear with us. That goes there. And that goes there. It almost actually has got a bit of a satisfying click. I don't know whether you heard that. That's his bottom bit. If you wanted to leave that on and just glue it on, you probably wouldn't get in the way too much, but I'm going to give him some fancy iconography on a knee pad. But, you know, there he is. That's the bottom half done. That's half the job done already. I am going to leave the front off, as I think it's a bit easier. I'm not too worried about painting detail at the back and stuff like that, because you're just not going to see it. And I've gone down those rabbit holes before, and I know I'll probably still fall into it, where I go, oh, I'm not going to, you know, paint it, and I end up layering. Don't get me wrong, I think it's all the little bits of effort that do make a fantastic model, but it doesn't need to be. A lot of times I just tend to paint the inside of the robes black because you're not going to see them. Oh, that's a blinder of a cup of tea there. Now, next up is what we're going to be doing the work on. So we need this part here, and obviously be careful. I tend to cut these smaller bits off first, and then the bigger bits. We need this, and this. One thing I will say about the Belial miniature, and it's really evident on this section here, like they've even sculpted the inside of the hood of the Terminator armor, and it's this little attention to detail that not only like absolutely amazes me, and like to me it stands apart and why it's such a good model, but it also baffles me at the same time, because like sometimes Games Workshop will just be like, oh, there's a horse, but I can't be bothered to sculpt the belly, and they don't. They just leave it completely like flat, and it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, you're not going to see the inside of this Terminator armor, no matter even if you're like doing a kit patch, because there's a head going to go there regardless. So why go to all the effort of sculpting that? But the bit that you are going to see on like a horse or, you know, another model, you're not going to see, or you could possibly see, and you are not, you know, it's almost like they can't be bothered. It's really weird. I never understand their process of doing it. I know it is two different design teams, one for 40k and one for Age of Sigmar. I'm going to say this, and I think it's quite controversial, but I do think the better sculptors are on the Age of Sigmar side. I think they make some wonderful models with lots of character and stuff like that. Look, goes over his shoulder pad. Not to worry, we can make sure that's done. And then you've got another shoulder pad that will go over this one. So there is a bit of a seam line. You don't really need to worry about that too much, because he has got a big shoulder pad that goes over it. But this is where we're going to do the majority of the work, and I am just going to trim this section off, because this is where I'm going to show you how to really easily magnetize stuff. Now, there's another video on this, on how I magnetized the Lion L. Johnson's heads. It's super easy. This is the bit we're actually going to be using. We don't need to worry about this section here at all, because we've got loads of room in there. And then how he goes together. We don't actually attach this bit just yet. What we do is, obviously the front would be on, and then this section kind of goes on, and then that bit goes round on the back. So you don't really need to worry too much about, I think he goes like there. So he's quite a big guy, because he's leaning to one side, so like there. So you're not going to see it. Now, to magnetize, super duper easy. What you're going to need a little magnet. Now here, I'm not sure about the strength of these. This was the same issue that I had last time. I bought these a long time ago. I think I got them from Green Stuff World about 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know off the top of my head the size of the magnet. I think you go by thickness, if that's right. These are they're like 2.5 mil, and if it is the diameter, then it's like, I don't know, 5.5 mil. You know, that it's not big, but it's got a nice strong pull on it, which is kind of what we want. And the first thing we need to do is just work out, and I have got one of the Lion's alternative heads here. So this is the size we kind of want. Now, one thing you will notice with these magnets, if I hold this like on this cape just here, just like this, the head actually has got a nice kind of grab to it. So I think that's the right side for this, as you can see. Is making sure it's the right side up is half the battle. So we know we need to glue it up this way. And to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it that way first, so I know that's the way it goes up. I'm going to get some super glue. I'm just going to put a bit on his little head there. And which way up was it? Was it this way? Oh my God, I'm awful at this. Yeah. So that bit needs to be facing. So all we're going to do, we're going to get this and we're just going to pop it in there like that. Now, super glue, I'm only using cheap stuff. I think it's from the pound store. It's nothing expensive. It doesn't need to be, you know, and we can kind of check, because if I put that head there, you can see that it wants to magnetically pull. As you can see, it's not coming off. Like, I don't think magnetizing has to be the complicated matching magnet thing that everyone says. All I'm going to say, I've done this a few times now and I've never had any problems. So there's, you know, that's the bulk of the work kind of done. Then all I like to do is I get some, this is just white tack. For some reason, my kids absolutely love this stuff. Why? It's the most boring stuff in the world. Anyway, they're always kind of after it. Dad, can I have some blue tack and some white tack? Yeah, sure. So there we go. And all I'm going to do is, I think this is set enough now to not move. I'm just going to get some blue tack. I'm just using, use this round file here. Just going to push it around it. Like, don't worry, it's not going to interfere with anything. It's just to really hold it in place, because what we're going to do, we're actually going to put some super glue over this. It's going to turn it rock hard, which is what we want. So we only need to just push it to the sides. Just make sure that our magnet, you know, it's never going to shake loose. You don't need a lot. You don't need much. Last time what I did do is I got a bit of sprue and actually glued it across like a base. You can do that here. If you would, you know, if it makes you feel a bit more happier and a bit more confident that it's never going to come out. But I find that, you know, I've done this quite a while now and I haven't had any problems yet. One thing I will do is just test fit to make sure that it's still not interfering with anything. And as you can see, it doesn't. We could actually even put a lot more if we wanted to on there. I'm not going to, because once again, I don't feel I need to. And then all I'm going to do with my super glue, I'm just going to put it just over this. And it's, when that dries, that's going to go rock hard. And it's almost like having a putty over it, which is just really, really, you know, just, it's a bit of a time saver. I guess it's a little bit of a hack, dare I say that. Because once again, I don't know if this is a thing, if this has been, you know, brought to anyone's attention before, but, you know, I'm just gonna dress that in there like that. And we can just move that super glue around. Don't worry too much. You know, just try and obviously err on the side of caution when you're putting your super glue on, otherwise it doesn't run everywhere. But it's just gonna, it soaks into the blue tack, it goes rock hard, and that's it. Normally I would leave that to dry. I don't feel we necessarily need to, because we can actually put this section together. And as you can see, once again, nothing's interfering with it. Again, if you wanted to, you could probably glue this together and get another load and just stuff it right down there into it. And it's just gonna, once it dries, Like you can hear that. It is punctured still slightly, so it is still a little bit wet, but there we go. That's how we kind of get the magnet in. Now, that's half the battle, which is great, but he has got 2 heads. Well, how are we going to attach the heads if we're not attaching these big magnets? So I'm going to show you. So I'll show you on his little normal head there. And this isn't the one I'm actually going to use. I like his hooded one because I want him to be leading my Deathwing Knights. And they're going to have hoods and they're not going to have helmets. They're going to be hooded boys. So I'm just going to do that. Now, how I've done the lion, and once again, it doesn't require loads of fancy stuff or anything like that. All you need is some paper clips. Now, if I put this here, you can see that it's magnetized on. That's not going to go anywhere. So what we can actually do is, or what I like to do, first thing is to work out how the head actually goes on. Now he's kind of looking to the side, so he kind of goes like there. He's facing that way, the way his gun's facing. What will actually happen is the magnet will pull this into place like some sort of wizardry goodness, because obviously it's designed to sit in a certain way in a certain place. So let's just trim him up, just so you know it's done. And all we're going to do, this is a 1mm drill here. I'm just going to drill in to his head just a little bit each time. You don't need to go super deep, but you do need to get a little bit of magnet in there. So all I do is I pull out and I check it like that. That's more than enough, I think, already. We'll go in a little bit deeper. So you do just be careful with drilling, you know, quite amorously, which I think is a fantastic word here. I haven't glued his head on yet, so I could paint it on the sprue but striking version of this. I did all my knight's arms. Sword may swap out over the weekend. See, I'm tempted to do sword and arms maces, you know, but I know what I'm like. The lies I tell myself. I've got 3 lion heads sitting here, Matthew McCulloch. And I was like, yeah, I'll magnetize them because I'll paint them all. And I haven't. They're just literally stuck to a magnet right in front of me and have done since he was released. So I know what I'm like. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, yeah, I would love to paint them all. I would love to do them all. But I just don't think I'm going to do it. So I think I might do shields and maces. I think that's pretty iconic for the Deathwing. We're just going to drill. We'll try it with 2 holes. You might need 3. I don't think I'm going to do 3. So we're just going to pop these in. As you can see, there we go. I've drilled 2 holes. If we actually pop the drill in, like there, you can see we've got a little bit. And if we do it on that side, this side could actually probably do it a little bit deeper. Up there, perfect. Then all we're going to do, and it's really easy, I've got a pair of cutters here which I've had for many years, and all I'm going to do, just get a little bit. We're just going to pop it on using a finger. I'm just going to wipe away the excess, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to push 1 in and wait for it to kind of set. Obviously, the less super glue you use here, the quicker it will dry. That's good enough. So I'm just going to nip off. Obviously, do be careful when doing this because they do tend to ping off. And same again. Don't worry if you've got a bit extra showing. You know, it's not the end of the world. I'll show you how to remove that. Same again, let's just massage a little bit in there. Same again, just going to pop that in. I suppose if you wanted to put, I believe it's baking soda or bicarbonate of soda. I'm never sure which one. In fact, let me check before I do this. It can actually make super glue sets rock hard and get a super good bond. If not, if you've got some activator, as you see, there you go, that's pinged off. So that's our two little bits in there, as you can see. So any extra bits that are there, I will try and get with the clippers if I can. I'll see that one's a little bit kind of too on. So really all I'm going to do, I'm going to grab a little file just here, and you'll hear it first. Paper clips are only a little mild still, so they file down really easily, and it's super easy to get this, you know, like really, there we go. Once it stops making that kind of scratchy noise, you know you are dead level. Again, just err on the side of caution when you're doing this, and wherever I've put it, where have I put it? Oh, it's there. Okay, cool. Oh no, it's super glued together. That's not good. Come on, lad. Well, at least you can see now my method. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Did I glue that together? I can't remember now. I don't think I did. Let me just pop that off. He should just... That's where some of the super glue has leaked once again. And I did say it, and I didn't take my own advice, is be a bit careful with how much you put on. Okay, well, he seems quite happy like that. And he kind of goes on... Does he go on like this? Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. You can still glue that on, so it's not the end of the world. So we can actually leave that off. All you've got to do is put that on first, and he sits there like that. So not the end of the world, even though I have made a little bit of a boo-boo there. I would have liked to have kept this bit separate. It does feel like it wants to go. However, I think that's firmly pressed on now. I'm not going to stress the plastic out. We're not going to worry about that. But anyway, so Belial's head, the two little pins are in there. Do make sure the super glue is dried before you do this and you test fit. Obviously, just keep running your finger over it. And then, there we go. He's in. And it's as easy as that, with a magnet, a little bit of blue tack, which is... It's now rock hard. Some super glue. There we go. That's how we do it. I can't really, make it any easier than that. I think that's probably the easiest method. Like, that's not going anywhere at all. So there we go. Obviously, don't do that mid-game. Don't pick it up and be like, yeah, because, he doesn't want to do that. But there we go. As you can see, it's a great way of just having that head held in there. If you wanted to put an extra pin, you could. It would hold just as well. It is easy to take out. And obviously, if you're not going to use it, you can just pop them on a magnet. Just magnetize just there. There we go. I would recommend a magnet like I've got, something bigger with a good pull, because obviously it's pulling through the plastic as opposed to being level when it's sitting directly on it. So, that is something to just take into consideration there. We're going to carry on building him anyway. I've got 10 minutes. I'm actually off to gym tonight. One thing I do like doing, I tend not to talk about myself quite a lot. I do like running. I'm signed up to a 10k in Hyde Park, first run of the year. Haven't run for a little while. I normally do it for charities. However, I'm not going to do it this time because it's my first run since, a little bit of a break from running, obviously for Christmas period. Those that know me know I like a drink, always have done. So I'm not going to do this one for a charity, but I do want to make sure that I'm on a good pace. Continue to go to the streets. I was doing all sorts. Rest of the box first. Yes, I am very much like that. I treat myself to like a bit of a bigger kit bash to kind of keep me going through it. I really need to do something with my two infiltrators. I like them, but they're a bit boring. And on the Ravenwing upgrade sprues, there's definitely some very, very cool bits. So anyway, let's just move on. One thing I like about extra fin, obviously I have made a little bit of a boo-boo here with this, but what I can do is I can just pop some in and it will just seal all them gaps up anyway. So we can kind of just add it and it will run into any of the gaps or anything like that, especially here. Obviously I will be filling this gap, so if there is a shoulder, well, it's not a shoulder pad, we can just pop that on and we can fill it. And with a file, once again, if you haven't seen my method on how to fill gaps, do it. There's a little video using this. It's really easy, it's really beginner friendly. Just take your time with it. I think it can be difficult to know where to start with gaps and stuff like that, especially if you're a new beginner now, you know, painter and stuff like that, and you want to just up your models. It's not going to be the end of the world if you don't, but it will certainly elevate them for those that want to push their game a little bit further. So it's definitely a good practice to get. I'm not going to tell you to draw your gun barrels, but another one is if you just want to elevate your model just a little bit, I do find like adding these little details are good. Once again, they are your models, do what you want with them. So I'm just going to clean this little section up here before I move on. And then, so you'd normally glue the front on anyway, so it'd all be one piece. Obviously that's not glued on, but he just kind of sits there like that, which is really nice because that's a good super glue bond there. He kind of sits quite nicely, as you heard, which is good. Now, one thing we can do, because I don't think it's going to get in the way too much, we're not going to, with his fancy shoulder pad, not that it is going to get in the way, but I would probably keep this off for the minute. It does sit over here, and it does just obstruct some detail in the corners there. It's not too much of an issue, but I think I'll probably choose to keep this off for the minute. Which I will do. So once again, if you are sub-assemblies and you hear maybe thinking, oh, how's Rob's going to do his sub-assemblies? This is how I'm going to do mine. If you need an easy Deathwing bone tutorial, much to the ire of many fans, I've got some Assault Intercessors in Deathwing colours, which is great because people hate it and I love it. But it's a really easy method, lots of dry brushing, and it gives a really, really good effect. The nice thing about the bone colour, if it is a little bit chalky, a little bit powdery, kind of lends into that bone kind of effect. So don't worry too much. Again, a really beginner friendly method, so don't worry too much. Next up, we can do his gun. Once again, super easy. We're just going to pop these bits out. And then the other side of his gun just here. I did think about spicing up Belial, but do you know what? I really like him as a miniature. I really like the knights as well. I was tempted to kind of do some knights. I don't watch a lot of hobby YouTube, I'll be honest. Maybe I should a lot more. I only tend to look for things if I'm researching something. I watched, I don't know whether you know a guy named, I think it's Travarian. He did a converting Deathwing, and he used some really cool 3D printed bits to make them really kind of almost like a big grim dark aesthetic. It was actually very enjoyable seeing what someone else kind of done with it. And it did get me thinking a little bit. I know sometimes, you know, people go, oh, it's not grim dark enough for me, which is a fair statement. You know, aesthetics are very subjective. Whereas I do think, though, it's weird saying that as a selling point, because it might not be for you, but it might be for someone else. And you know what, if you don't want to kit bash a miniature, or you don't want to, you know, do anything, I've always said like a head swap's normally good enough, a couple of extra bits is good enough. You don't need to go mental all the time. But you know what, if you like your models clean and you like them, you know, the way they look, then you know, great, do it. Once again, they are your models, so just be aware you don't always have to kind of fill in for that aesthetic, because a lot of the time it's very subjective. So it's definitely it was a very interesting watch, actually. Like I said, I tend to not watch a lot of hobby YouTube stuff. I did use, when I first started like Warhammer and getting into Warhammer and stuff like that, I said getting into it, I don't learn a lot about Warhammer. I'm not a big lore or story guy. I really enjoyed the Warhammer TV with Duncan and Peachy videos. You know, they were great, and it was always a good highlight when new ones came out. You know, to see how they painted them up, because they're very talented individuals. But after that, I never really kind of found anything that I enjoyed as much as that. So, you know, I just tend to watch a lot of games being played. It's really weird. I just watch games being played on YouTube all the time. So that's his arm there. Now, the nice thing about this is where the join is, and this is where sometimes you have to be a bit clever with your sub-assemblies. It's actually on the shoulder pad and the inner suit lining. So when you put it together, it's not like a continuation of any bit of the armour. So what you can actually do is you can leave this separate. So we actually have a gun arm separate as well, which makes everything a lot easier to paint. If you wanted to glue it on, it probably wouldn't cause too much of a problem. So don't worry too much. But now, the other thing, and I've said this before, in actual fact, when I was in talks with part of the Warhammer, I don't know what it's called now, team that, you know, like review team, we get stuff, we feedback Q&A and stuff like that. I get to preview the stuff for you guys, which is great. And I mentioned this on the Primaris Lieutenant kit that came with the Augustus Strike Force. And this irritates me so much that they do this, is they put contact points on the swords. That is so infuriating, because it just goes to show on the Primaris Lieutenant for the Augustus Strike Force, there were no contact points on the blade. And I thought it was such a wonderful thing that they had put all the contact points down below, because now when you kind of go to cut this off, you always end up kind of slightly taking an edge out, and it can be really difficult to kind of clean up. And I wish they wouldn't do that. You know, it's for everything GW do very, very well. Sometimes they do something that just absolutely infuriates me. Hey ho. So there we go. So we're just gonna clean up him. He's got a few little seam lines on the back of his arm here. Nothing major. Obviously the seam line is designed to run down the actual length of the blade, but we do have these contact points. So just be really careful when you're taking these off, because the last thing you want is to end up cutting a little curve out of the blade. Obviously there's this one here. I do find just putting your thumb against the end, be careful. Some of these plastic bits can be really sharp. Just gently, really gently, until you can't feel that bump anymore. There we go. Now his sword arm, once again, we get away with quite a bit because it just kind of sits in there, and it actually ends on the inner lining of the suit. So once you put his sword arm there, like half of it isn't sculpted, which is great. And all you need to do is he just slides in there like that. I don't know whether you can see that. You've got this kind of little power cable that runs to his cuff there. When you initially put it in, I think most people are instinctively going to put it like that. It's not. It needs to sit in this little ridge just here, and it will actually just push in like that. So again, we're not going to glue that in because it's a really, really easy fit. And what actually happens is it ends up hiding that big seam line that we've got just here. So I'm not going to waste time filling that, because once it's in, as you can see, you're not actually going to see it. So there's another good tip there as well. The rest of Belial is actually really, really straightforward. He's got his tilting plate, his tilt plate type thing, which is very cool. That just goes here. Once again, I won't be gluing this on just yet, because obviously it does obstruct some of the details on his cloth. And I might give him some fancy Dark Angels heraldry on his tabard, which I think is a good way to... I don't know. I don't know what it is about Dark Angels that I love so much. I love all the iconography and the ordained robes and stuff like that. They've got some fantastic aesthetic to them, as you can see there. It's not gonna get in the way. So if you wanted to glue it on, you probably could. However, I am just going to keep it off so I can work around it. Not the end of the world. Then obviously there's his hooded head. I will repeat the process with the paper clips on this, so I can get him magnetized. Again, really, really easy to do. And then we've just got 2 parts of the base. This is what his other foot is up on. As you can see, he's kind of got 1 foot raised because he needs a tactical rock. He needs it. So there we go. We're just going to unclip him. Once again, do your small contact points first. That will stop him from breaking. 1 clip there, 1 clip there, and that's it. Then all that happens with this, and I'm just going to clean them up really, really quickly, as obviously I'm running over the hour. And hey, I am running shortly as well. Got an hour on a treadmill. It's got to do some cardio today. And then I'll be back at my desk. I hope to start working on him. I've been really, I can't tell you, I've been really looking forward to the Deathwing box, and it's great because all the new stuff is on its way, which means, you know, there's no rush for it. It's out now. There's no like, ooh, I wonder. It's here. It's out. I think I'm definitely going to get some of the companions. I really, really like them. I know some people thought they were a bit goofy. I just like what they've done with them. So they are on my radar. And another nice thing about them is that they don't look like they need a lot of kit bashing. I say need. The brand on the clippers, this is the Citadel ones. These are the old ones. I've had these ages. The spring's gone on them, so they don't retract. But they've got such a good little blade on them. And they've done me really, really well. They're the, I say the old Citadel ones. I use them for absolutely everything. I wish you could still get these ones now, but I don't think you can, unfortunately. They've changed over to the ones with the little nippers. I was using some Tamiya ones. So I used to like doing Gundams, so I do have some, you know, Tamiya stuff, which was great. However, I find sometimes they're a little bit stubby and small. And I have got very stumpy, dumpy little fingers, so I tend to stop using them after a while because getting into the little contact points, especially I think anything on a 25mm would just a no-go for me. They were up here actually. I don't know where they've gone. They're probably in my drawer. So Belial's foot just sits on there like that. And there we go, that's it. We're there. I am just going to trim the head up and then wish you all adieu. Again, really, really easy method. Like magnetizing doesn't have to be a hard thing. I am sorry that I haven't done a dedicated video on this method. I do find just, you know, doing it as we go, it's fine. Maybe I should do an actual dedicated video. Maybe I'll find a model where I can just, you know, butcher him about a little bit and do this. But the live serves, you know, just as well. So, and I'm gonna try and make some conscious efforts to do more lives this year, as I do generally, you know, enjoy it. So, yes. So there we go. Obviously, I'll repeat the process on there. But again, if I just grab his head. Oh no, that's the lion. I don't know. Yeah, look. We could have him as the lion. There he is. The lion in Terminator armour. Who would have thought it? I'd never fit. He's too big, the heckin' chonker. Anyway, there he is. So there we go. Belial. Done. I say done. Even he's not done, but you know, we're halfway there. So anyway, I think you guys know what I meant. So there we go. Belial. Very, very cool miniature. Obviously, he is on a 50mm. He's got his cool, you know, when he's looking mean. He's a bit Dirty Harry-esque. He's like, you, yeah. So very, very cool with a sword. I did see in the upgrade sprue there's a really lovely sword blade. So I think if I am going to do anything, I might just do that. But that is a proper Sword of Silence, Sword of Secrets. You know, with the little bit at the end, is quite iconic for Dark Angel. So I'll probably leave it if I'm completely honest with you. So, you know, I don't think he needs much. So yeah, there we go. Once again, I don't know if I am going to get time to do a video this week. Once again, not the end of the world. I have got some cool stuff coming up. I've started to kind of play around with plastic card more, so we can make some custom banners, which is really easy to do. Obviously, if you wanted to kind of pop a thing on him there, like he wouldn't look too out of place. And the nice thing about things like Dark Angels kits, if I just grab some upgrade sprues quick, like if you look here on, oh no, is it? No, it's this one. They actually have, especially on the Ravenwing upgrade sprue, these lovely flat bits of iconography that would just fit really, really well in here. So you could actually make a bit of a 3D sculpted kind of banner. I'm playing around with that. I forgot to buy a compass today because I wanted to try and make some domed arches to them to give them a bit more visual interest. That will probably be the next video I do. So there it is. But that's it. I am going to leave it there. Obviously, that's Belial kind of done. Next time you see him, he'll all be lovely and painted. Obviously, there are any bits that I can do to, you know, let me know what you'd want to see if you want to know how I'm doing capes and stuff like that. I've already got tutorials for. It's all on the channel. Bone armor, once again, tutorials for. Bases, tutorials for. Dark Angels, tutorials for. You will just have to scroll back. I'll do my best to link stuff as I remember them. But yeah, that's it. Sorry, I know it was a bit of an impromptu live. I didn't give much notice. I might try and do one on Friday and put together some of the new night kits, because once again, I'm dying to kind of get my hands on them and just see, you know, what they're all about. I bet I could do some very cool things with them, especially like turning a mace upside down so he's resting the mace on the ground but doing that pose. Anyway, we'll see. That's a problem for Rob for the future. I'm going to go and run for an hour and run away from my problems, which is fantastic. Again, thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure. I'd love to see you all. You're beautiful. Thank you so much. Again, if you're watching from the future, hope you enjoyed this. Any questions, I'll do my best to answer. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. There's no jazz music in the background, which I'm a little bit sad about, as I do like my little jazzy numbers. But that's it from me. I'm done. Adieu, adios, bonne noite, and I will see you all next time. God bless, take care, and thanks again. Bye-bye.